What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Appreciate you guys hanging out. I had to record a separate video here, so I had a couple of reasons why I'm going to record a separate video. I want to do a video just talking bigs, just talking Laker bigs or potential Laker bigs. NBA trade deadline obviously coming up. This is going to be kind of a combination here. So I already did my show this morning, and I did a little bit of it, but I don't feel like I got to expand enough. So I just want to do a separate video on that. We got a little bit of a price tag of what it would cost for Myles Turner. Dave McMenamin was on the show, and he listed his top three bigs, 1, 2, and 3 that he'd like to see on the Lakers. And then I'm going to play a clip from that show from this morning as well that will kind of tie into the value you could potentially get with going after certain guys. So that's what this video is going to be about. Nothing too long or crazy or anything along those lines, but there was a lot going on this morning. And when you have a guest, sometimes you can't get deeper into topics that you want to. So let's just do a video on potential Laker bigs. Okay, the first one here, the chatter, the conversation these last couple of days, we've talked about it. It's been about Myles Turner. I'm a big fan of Myles Turner. I think a lot of people on the Lakers chat get incredibly excited about the potential of getting Myles Turner. I think there was a little bit of a reality check of what it could potentially cost to get Myles Turner. So let's focus first on Myles Turner by himself and if it's worth the cost to get him, number one. Number two, I still am going to sit back and say that I don't think the Pacers trade him, but there's been enough chatter out there to have the conversation, so that's why we've been having it. And then the second thing I'm going to get into is I'm going to play something from Dave McMenamin, who's on the show this morning, kind of listing out the bigs that he'd like to get on this Lakers team and what it would cost. Okay, let's do Myles Turner first. I'm going to read something here from Anthony Irwin at Clutch Points. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, the Lakers have held extensive conversations about Turner internally and are weighing whether it makes sense to put both the first rounders they can move at this trade deadline on the table for him. Let me ask, I don't think I need to ask Laker fans this. Would Myles Turner be a great fit with the Lakers? 100%. Would it not just accomplish what Anthony Davis is looking for? I think those two can really, really excel. And I think the Lakers can make a pretty legitimate run. I mean, we'll see. The Western Conference, OKC is as good as it gets. Dallas will eventually get healthy. Lakers, some teams out there that are interesting. Memphis, Houston. What do other teams do at the trade deadline? What happens to Phoenix? Do they make a deal? There's still a lot of question marks in the Western Conference, but I would love this team if Myles Turner was on the squad. Do you want to give up your 2 first-rounders for Myles Turner? 2 really key, important first-rounders for Myles Turner, and then that's it. You don't have those first-rounders anymore. And I'm all in on going all in. But is Myles Turner the guy that you're going all in for? He's in the final year of his contract with the Pacers. The Pacers are 5th place in the Eastern Conference. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. There's a good shot that the Indiana Pacers say, you know what? We're not going to trade Myles Turner. We're going to take our chances. And if he doesn't sign at the end of the season, well, we'll take our chances of trying to make a playoff run and, probably out in the first round, maybe win a round. We'll see what eventually happens. They'd match up against Milwaukee if they went up against them right now. I like everything about Myles Turner. 2 first-rounders is a lot for Myles Turner. Now you're going to sign him in the offseason for 30, probably somewhere around there, 30 million plus, or maybe 25 million plus, whatever he costs a year. So now between Anthony Davis and Myles Turner, just your front court alone, you're going to have probably 75 to 80 million dollars for those 2 players, and you don't have an established point guard. Obviously, there's other questions on the roster. Love the fit of Myles Turner. Don't like the cost of 2 first-rounders for Myles Turner. And maybe that's the only way you're going to get him. Maybe the Indiana Pacers say, we don't have interest in trading him. But if you're willing to give us 2 first-rounders, obviously they'd probably get Rui Hachimura in a deal, other ways to try to make this work from a financial perspective. Maybe Indiana's looking at that and saying, maybe we go ahead and make this deal because 2 first-rounders are involved from the Lakers. A lot of people look at those 2 first-rounders for the Lakers, 2029 and 2031, as having a tremendous amount of value because They don't know where this Lakers franchise is going to be after LeBron, post LeBron. Does Anthony Davis say, hey, when LeBron's gone, I want to move on, whatever the case is. Or even if he's around for a few more years, by the time you get to 2029, that's 4 years from now. Who knows what Anthony Davis's future is with the Lakers? Maybe he played for 3 more years and then called it a day. There's a lot of value in those picks. And I'm not a guy that is hoarding picks and saying, no, you can't get rid of them. But 2 for Myles Turner? I thought the 2 first rounders were supposed to go towards another franchise player that, another building block that you're going to have with Anthony Davis. If you told me De'Aaron Fox and you're giving up 2 first rounders, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. I understand it. If you told me even a guy like Brandon Ingram, I would say, okay, I see where you're going with this. I know he's young enough. He's a two-way player. He's the wing, and wings are so important in today's NBA. But you want to give up 2 first-rounders for Myles Turner? And I did a video yesterday, which, here I was saying, well, what if it happened? What would the Lakers look like with Myles Turner? So let me throw that question out to Laker fans. If it's going to cost you 2 first-rounders, you still doing it for Myles Turner? I think the team would be really, really good this year and very competitive next year as well. Maybe that's the mission. Maybe it's okay, mission accomplished. As long as you're competitive and you give yourself a shot, then it's worth those 2 first rounders. All right. Then I had Dave McMenamin on a little bit earlier. So you guys, by the way, put in your comments whether you think that's worth it or not. I'll read some of these tomorrow when I do my show again at 8 a.m. in the morning. Okay, then I'm talking with Dave McMenamin, and him and I are, obviously doing the show this morning. So he was nice enough to join the show. And let me kind of give you his list, because I asked him to tell me, of all the names that we've heard, what are the names that you like most? And I'll tell you exactly the list. And then he makes a case why this is probably a better path for the Lakers instead of trying to go with Myles Turner based on what it would cost. So here's what he said. He said his first choice, and he was saying that in the offseason, he was talking a lot about this. They can go get, he said, these are all realistic players, all realistic names that can 100% be a part of the Lakers organization. And Rob Pelinka could accomplish what he was looking for, which is accommodating Laker fan base and accommodating Anthony Davis. More importantly, accommodating Anthony Davis in getting a big, which is clearly what AD is asking for. His number one guy was Jonas Valanciunas. So he said that if you can go get Jonas Valanciunas and then also try to go get Malcolm Brogdon, so now you're accomplishing 2 goals here. I'm a big fan of Malcolm Brogdon. I just need the man to be healthy. And I'm not watching Wizards game the way they were, but I like Malcolm Brogdon in some of those competitive teams that he was on in the past. I think he has actually a lot of value. Jonas Valanciunas has a lot of playoff value. He's been in the league for a long time, so certainly can fill a role there. But McMenamin's number one was go get Jonas and then see if you can get Malcolm Brogdon on top of that. His number 2 was Robert Williams of the Portland Trailblazers, and he did talk about he understands that the man has been injured, but that's a true kind of banger that would be a nice fit with Anthony Davis. And then his number 3rd choice, he said a little bit further out there, was Kelly Olynyk of the Toronto Raptors. Okay. So he mentions all those 3 guys, 1, 2, and 3 is what he would hope for. Now, here's the case that he's making. I'm going to share this video with you guys. I'm going to basically play a clip from the show this morning so that we can kind of get an idea of obviously what he's talking about in regards to this. So let's take a quick look here. The way I got it set up. Look at me. I'm looking at myself twice here. What that? Just how much of an ego do I have? Take a listen of why those 3 players and his justification for it. Let's take a listen.
All 3 of those realistic names, none of them will require 2 first-round picks. Probably none of them would even require a first-round pick, depending on how asking prices are around the trade deadline. Go out and do it. And then if you do it, it's twofold if you're Rob Pelinka. One, you recognize that, hey, I built this team and I gave a player option to Christian Wood when he hasn't been able to give me any minutes whatsoever.
Sure.
So we need to address that. And 2, okay, my stars. You wanted them. You got them. I delivered. So now you deliver even more for me, because that's why I am paying you max contracts. And lay the chips where they lie at that point.
All right, that's Dave McMenamin there. So I think the main thing to take away from this is the case that he's trying to make, and I actually really like the point that he's making on this. So there's a couple points that he's making. The first point that he's making is these players are available. You can go get them. If Myles Turner is a pipe dream, well, why take your chances with something that's not potentially realistic? Why take your chances with a team that clearly is they don't have to sell? And why risk giving up 2 first rounders for really no lock or guarantee on like a franchise type of player? You're really talking about a role player, somebody that would complement the rest of the roster. His point is you might not even have to give up a first rounder for the names that he was talking about. And let's just say you did go out and it cost you 1 first rounder. Maybe you can get 2 needs accomplished, as in Malcolm Brogdon and Jonas Valanciunas, that you can accomplish goals that help take care of a couple different needs. So I think his point there is a fair point. I think it's a really good point. And I also think it's interesting. I like what he said as well. He's like, if you're Rob Pelinka, you also come out a winner in this entire thing, because if you do go trade and all of a sudden you didn't give up crazy draft assets in the process, you can sit back and say, I was responsible. I took my time. I got you Dorian Finney-Smith. Anthony Davis, you wanted a big. I was able to accomplish it. And oh, by the way, I still have one of the first of those first rounders, or potentially 2 of those first rounders, and I got a deal done. So he kind of looks like he wins in that kind of scenario as well. So that's really the main point that I wanted to get across. I didn't want to just cut the video that I had this morning. I figured let me just kind of do one just specifically on the bigs. I want to get Laker fans' thoughts on 2 things. Number one, the price tag for Myles Turner. Worth it? Would you still do it? Are you gambling on that one? I'm leaning towards 2 first rounders are too much for Myles Turner. I'm leaning towards if you can go like the deal that Dave mentioned specifically, of all those deals out there, the Jonas Malcolm Brogdon, to me, and you don't have to give up 2 first rounders. You could actually be pretty smart with the deal that you make there. That to me sounds like I'm willing to take that risk than the trying to hit a grand slam with Myles Turner without knowing at all if that's going to work or not. So that's part of my thought process there. I would love your guys' thoughts on it. I mean, we're just a little over a week from the NBA trade deadline, and bigs is what everybody's talking about around the Lakers. So would love your guys' thoughts on that. What do you think Rob Pelinka should do? And we'll see what happens in the dust settling in that regard. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.